I'm here with Kristina. We're in Melbourne, Australia, and we've had a really fantastic conversation about your journey, Kristina, through entrepreneurship, but just generally through life and how you've navigated that and what's important to you and what your priorities are. And I'll hand it over to you to introduce what you do in your company and a little bit about your story, and then we'll unpack it further from there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So I'm Kristina from Kikki.k. So at Kikki.k, our purpose is to inspire and empower people to live their best life. We use Swedish design and it's beautiful products that help you live your best life. And I started my business, I think the first store opened 2001, and we now have, I think, over maybe 130 stores across 5 countries. So we're in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong, and the UK. And we sell to 143 countries online. And we are in Nordstrom through US and a few other wholesale partners throughout the world. So super excited to be here and talking all about living your best life.
Absolutely. So what I found really interesting about what we were talking about before was a lot of people have their own routine when they wake up, right?
Yep.
A lot of successful people, a lot of people who have achieved a lot in their own domains have a particular way that they go about setting up their own routine. And you had something that I've never actually heard before, but when you explained it, made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm keen to get you to tell everybody a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I call it my holy hour, and the reason why I call it my holy hour is because it's so important to me, so it's holy. And ideal holy hour for me includes getting up at 5 a.m. It doesn't mean that I am getting up at 5 a.m. every morning, because sleep is my number one priority. So my ideal morning will start at 5 a.m. I would get up and I would start with morning pages, and it's based on the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And it was so long ago that I read it, so I'm not sure if I'm following the way she's doing it. But the way I got out of it is basically you do unconscious writing for 3 pages, and I use just a simple notebook, Kikki.k one, of course. Yes. But it's more important that it is a book that you might not want to save. I write about whatever comes to mind. So it's unconscious writing, and it's whatever comes to mind. So it could be an issue that I'm grappling with, a problem, something I'm excited about, or it might be a day that I need to plan. It could be anything, whatever comes to mind. And I write about it for 3 pages, and then I throw it away. So I often being Swedish, I often sit in front of the fire. So I often burn it, but you can shred it, you can throw it, you can do whatever you want with it, you can save it as well. But the reason why I don't save it is because often these things that comes up in the morning are little things. So in 5 years' time, I'll be thinking, what was I thinking? And it's not about saving. It's more about getting stuff out of my mind and out of my body and just really get rid of it. So that's why I'm not saving it.
Have you found times where you haven't done that routine and then it's screwed up the rest of the day, and you've really seen the impact on potentially not having the same clarity in terms of how you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it all the time, so I do it as much as I can. But I often, if I do grappling something really big, I need to journal about it. So often I'll be, if there's something coming at work, I'll be like, that's what I'm going to think about tomorrow morning. But I don't write a note, I'm going to journal about this. It's whatever comes to mind. So if it comes to mind, I'll write about it. But if it doesn't, then it's not a big thing in my head.
What role has self-reflection played for you? Because from our chat, you're very introspective and you obviously journal a lot. Whether it's people getting into their own journey, whatever it might be, it could be entrepreneurship, could be a discipline, could be a sport, anything like that. What role do you think reflecting and having that time for yourself and having that clarity in the space for your own thoughts to think?
I mean, for me, I was saying before, I actually think that what actually kept me sane throughout, I've started, building a business and had no idea about anything. I'm still don't have an idea about anything, but I think that's what kept me sane. The journal pages is what really helped me, because every day I was, not every day, but often I was clearing my mind out. And I also, after my morning pages, I do normal journaling, and that's when I use a proper beautiful notebook, and we actually have in my Kikki.k, we call it a life journal, and it's basically just a plain journal, but the reason why I call it the life journal is because it's it's where I save my life. So it's where, save everything about my life, I should say. So it could be if I'm reading a book or listening to a podcast, I take notes in there. If I'm on an airplane and I see a great quote in the in-flight magazine or learning or in a book I want to read or whatever, I put it in there, and it's kind of
I can vouch for that. Kristina wrote down a whole lot of books when we were really nerding out about books before, so that was awesome.
Yeah. I always take notes, and that book I would always have in my bag. So the reality of having doing this from home.
Yeah, there's all the different things in your life. It's not just Kikki.k. It's a family
as well, and yeah.
Awesome. So the last question I want to ask, and I love asking people this because it's a real insight into the level of reflection, as we were kind of just talking about, was if you can run back the clock and talk to yourself when you first started your journey, and totally understand the journey never ends, right? It's always a journey. It's always we keep improving. But if you could go back to the start of whether it's the Kikki.k journey or where you think your journey started, what would you say to yourself, or what sort of lessons or what sort of takeaways do you think would be really important for younger Kristina to kind of take on board and internalize?
Yeah, I think a lot about this. So it would,
fantastic.
Yeah. So I think one of the best advice I ever got was from my partner Paul, and he encouraged me to do what I love. And I think when you're young, you think life is forever, and I still hoping and do, but we know that it isn't. And I think a lot of people take a long time to work that out. It's often when you come into the 40s and the 50s where you start really realizing that life is not going to go on forever.
It's one of the biggest regrets on it's not to be too sinister, right? But it is about following your passion.
Absolutely. And so really do what you love, and actually that you can create your own life. And sometimes it's not easy, but it's up to you to do it. And I think that will be my number one. And really then, do something you're passionate about. And it doesn't mean that you have to work with your passion and make a business out of it or work, but you can do a lot of things outside of work that is your passion.
Yes.
So I feel like, do something that you love, and being passionate is absolutely number one. Number two is the vision. So really set a vision early, and that can change, and that could be, you move across all sorts of, but really work out what is your vision, if it's in your personal life or it's in business or whatever. I think that's super important. And for me, I said it'd be a really big vision from day one, and we did as a business, and having the team, me, Paul, everyone knowing where we're going, because it's so easy to be sidetracked. The vision has pulled us through, and also got through all the tough times as well.
Yeah.
And number three is never take no for an answer. And it's one thing that I got really good at, and something I really love and encourage everyone to do. Doesn't mean you have to say yes to everything. It doesn't mean you have to do just for your own view, but actually finding a win-win. And if you really want to make something happen, it is possible, and never take no for an answer. And I almost enjoy now getting a no, because I find it a challenge. Yeah. It's really interesting.
Was it hard internalizing that philosophy at the start?
No, I think it's comes quite naturally to me, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's, when you start your own business with no money, no knowledge, like if you take no for an answer, you are gone.
There is no safety net,
absolutely.
Right?
So you just have to find a way, and there is always a way. It doesn't always. You just sometimes have to journal about it or think about it a different way, and work with whoever you need to get with you on this journey, or whatever the no is, to work through it and actually make it happen.
Awesome.
Because I think it's a lot of the small business people, it's so tough starting a business, so giving up is a really nice option, but actually
it's
not
the
to
lowest
take
hanging fruit. It's right there.
It
doesn't take a lot of effort to
no
say,
exactly.
oh, well.
Take no for an answer it's much harder.
Yeah.
And then the last one would probably be to spend that time reflecting, and actually spend time with yourself, because it's, especially now, we were talking about that before, I find a lot of people don't take the time to actually sit and just think, because there's always a phone, there's always something to be distracted by, And I think that's the key.
It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's so easy.
Absolutely. And it's addictive as well. So it's easy to go on Instagram. I love it, but it's kind of really to have that discipline and saying, well, I'm actually going to spend some time. And that's what, my holy hour, the phone, the only thing I will use the phone will be to put on a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Perfect, Kristina. That's fantastic. Okay. So if anybody wants to check out Kikki.k, wants to check out you, hear a little bit more about what you've been talking about here, where can they go find you online?
So in terms of the business, so it's Kikki-k.com. That's our website, and we ship around the world. In terms of following me, I'm on Instagram. It's Kristina with K, and it's Kikki, K-I-K-K-I-K. So Kristina Kikki.k.
Yeah, we'll link that in the description.
Yeah,
make it
that's
easy
right.
for
Yeah,
everyone.
exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of Ks. But I just started on the social media, personal, and obviously we also have Kikki.k has a Instagram and Facebook page as well. So you can follow us wherever you are.
Awesome, Kristina. Thanks so much for coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me, and I'll look forward to hear more about everyone that you have on the show.
That's it. I'll speak to you guys soon. Thanks so much. This is Kristina. We're in Melbourne, Australia, and that was Kikki.k.